There are two questions here. I'm just going to read them because they're really, really exciting.
I just wanted to add one thing about sacrifice. And that is just this concept. The Prophet ﷺ told us that if you sacrifice something for the sake of Allah, He will replace it with something better. I'm going to repeat that because this is very important. Anytime you sacrifice something, whether it's a relationship or it's covering your beauty, covering your hair, not wearing the tight jeans anymore, whatever it is, and you're doing it for Allah's sake, and you're sacrificing it for Allah's sake, Allah will replace it with something better. And I'm going to give you guys an example. Salama was one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. And what happened was Allah had taken away her husband. And she loved her husband and they were very, very close. Allah took away her husband. And the Prophet ﷺ had taught that if something is taken away from you, or you lose something, or you give something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you respond with Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and there's another part for the dua, that Allah will replace it with something better. So when Salama lost her husband, she said this statement, she had this response. And you know who she ended up marrying? She ended up marrying the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So Allah took away her husband and replaced him with the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So anytime you sacrifice something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will give you something better. Don't ever think that you're losing. And when you start to make a sacrifice for Allah, here's another problem. The reason why we don't sacrifice, we see it as very difficult. I can't let go of that thing. I can't let go of that relationship. I can't let go of whatever it is that we hold on to so tightly. But as soon as you start to make that sacrifice, it's like taking just one step towards Allah. You know what Allah does? Allah says that when you take one step towards Him, He takes 10 towards you. And if you come towards Allah walking, slowly, Allah comes towards you with speed, running. So as soon as you make even a small sacrifice for His sake, He makes the rest easy for you. I tell you that from experience. He will make it easy for you. It will be hard, just a little hard at the beginning. But after you get past that, I swear to you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will carry you the rest of the way and it will be made easy for you, inshallah.
Yes, I heard the Imam who compared that to dieting. That was in the contest. There are two sisters and they have great concern about two sisters. They have three questions, sorry. One is saying, I'm worried for my sister. She lately opened herself for me and told me that she does not know what she believes in anymore. She's confused about it. I don't know what that refers to. I think to religion itself or Islam. Can you please give me some advice on how I can motivate her? The other one is, I have a friend. She was practicing Islam and used to wear hijab and dress very properly. But now, one day, she took it off and the whole family turned against her because she took it off and doesn't have the knowledge. Is that right from her family to do so, not to talk to her anymore, and so on? And the third question is regarding to the same. A friend who's now definitely somewhat lost, and she doesn't trust anyone except for two other sisters that she's very close to. How can you give them advice to advise her because she doesn't want to go to someone else?
Bismillah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide all those who have been led astray. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be very, very careful. If you are on Islam, never feel secure that your heart cannot turn. one of the du'as that the Prophet Muhammad would make regularly is Ya Muqallib al-Qulub, Thabbit Qulubana ala Deen. O turner of hearts, keep our hearts firm on your deen, on your way, on your religion. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide those who have been led astray, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep our hearts firm on His faith, on His way. Ameen. Regarding those who have gone off the path, I would say a couple things, and I mentioned this in my lecture yesterday, and I want to re-emphasize it. Our protection is in our salah. Our protection from shaitan, our protection from all of the attacks of society, our protection from our own lower self, our own nafs, is in the remembrance of Allah, in salah. When you take a person and a person stops praying, or a person stops praying on time, or a person starts to combine their prayers, it's all downhill from there. And I will tell you that the one who wore their hijab and then over time took it off, probably somewhere in between those two steps was the abandonment of salah. Somewhere in between those two things, between wearing the hijab and practicing, and taking it off and not practicing, was the abandonment or the neglect of salah. Do you guys understand? Do you agree? When you leave the salah, or you delay the salah, or you're not careful about your prayers, meaning that you're not praying on time, you're not waking up for fajr on time, you're praying whenever you feel like it when you get up, or you're not praying at all. You're not praying during the day because you're at school, or you're at your job. You're praying maybe all your prayers before you sleep. This will absolutely damage you, and it will damage your iman. And it makes you open to the attacks that come from society, the attacks that come from shaitan, the attacks that come from within your own self. So this person who went from here to here, really, it is in the dhikr, it is in the salah and the abandonment of that a person becomes susceptible and eventually gets knocked down. I gave this example yesterday. It's like going into a battlefield and you have no protection. You have no armor, you have no shield. You will get hit and you will get knocked down. That's what happens when you are not remembering Allah. Allah is your protection. Allah is your armor. You have to be remembering Him regularly. Allah has given you a prescription. You know, have you guys ever gone to a doctor and he gave you a prescription for a medicine? Anybody? We all have that, right? An antibiotic or whatever. When the doctor gives you a prescription, he tells you to take it a certain number of times a day. And he tells you to take it at a certain time. It has to be spaced out, right? A certain time. 3 times a day. Suppose the doctor tells you to take the medicine 3 times a day. And instead of taking it in the morning, in the evening, and then at night before you sleep, you say, oh, it doesn't matter. I'll take all of them before I sleep. What happens? One of 2 things will happen. Either you'll overdose and harm yourself, or at the very least, it's not going to work. And so when we take the prescription of Allah, which is to pray 5 times at very specified times, and we ignore it, it's not going to work. It is a medicine, but it's not going to work if we don't do it properly. You see that? Allah has given us a medicine. Allah has given us a cure for all of the problems we have inside us. Allah has given us a cure for all of the problems we have outside of us. But if we don't follow the prescription, it's not going to work. And that's why we continue to have lots of problems internally and externally. For those people who you have friends or you have people that you care about and they don't believe anymore or they don't practice anymore, the first thing to do for them is make dua for them. Make a lot of heartfelt dua for them. And second, try to sincerely call them back. Try to give them sincere advice, not the type of advice where you are lecturing them or you are looking down on them. You know, sometimes people, they don't like to hear advice because they think that, oh, you think you're better than me, right? But that's not it. You need to go to your friend or go to your relative or whoever it is, just like a person goes to someone who's about to jump off a cliff. If you see someone running towards a cliff and they're about to fall off, are you going to advise them or are you just going to let them go? You're not going to just let them go if you really care about them, right? Oh, I'll just let them kill themselves, I don't care. That's a really heartless thing to do. But if you care about that person, you're going to do everything in your power to tell them, you are about to hurt yourself. You are hurting yourself. Please stop. Not because I think I'm better than you, because I'm not about to jump off a cliff, just because I love you, just because I care about you. So do it with that, that type of sentiment. And make sure you're making dua for them, because ultimately, only Allah can guide. We, no matter how much we love someone, we cannot guide them. And this is something we learned very well from the lesson of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How much did he love his uncle? He loved his uncle very much, but he could not guide his uncle. And Allah tells him, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. That indeed you cannot guide whom you love, but Allah guides whom He wills. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide these people and to guide us and to keep us firm on His deen.